Today we're talking about the Avengers at the end of Endgame. Okay, all the powers they use at the end of Endgame. Okay, versus the Akatsuki. I have this picture of now just the Naruto characters in general, but basically we're doing the Avengers versus the entire Akatsuki. So the Akatsuki are not weak. The Akatsuki are not weak at all. You know, we already went over Pain, so we don't have to go over Pain again, or the Avengers from the first Avengers movie. But we'll be going over the rest of the Akatsuki, as well. So we're gonna go over the weakest first. The weakest of the Akatsuki first. This is gonna be a pretty long video, but the weakest of the Akatsuki is Conan and Hidan. Hidan is immortal, so he probably will not be able to know how to fight him. But Conan, because Hidan's immortal, so they won't know how to fight him. Conan's probably the weakest, but even at the weakest, Conan, Master Eyes, Flame Board, her paper explosives are also capable of injuring Toby, and with Watch Tower, but she requires months of preparation to do, but most of the Akatsuki are around the same level, basically around mountain level to town level. So many of the weaker Avengers would be defeated. So Black Widow, we already went over Black Widow. Black Widow would be beaten. Conan would be Iron Man. Okay, that would be no contest. Conan would also beat the Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, they're basically all fodder as well. Okay, and I guess it's the Guardians of the Galaxy without Gamora. But even then, Gamora is still fodder. She's not really that strong. Drax isn't that strong, he's the destroyer. He's not really that strong compared to the Akatsuki, here. So, then we're going to go over Hidan, who is arguably the weakest member of the Akatsuki. I think everybody does agree on that. But even then, he's at least town level because according to Asuma, Hidan's above him. Mad the block Kakazu's punches and his ritual ignores their ability. All of the Akatsuki are massively hypersonic plus, and yeah, despite this, Hidan would probably be defeated first. So with the Avengers, we're gonna go over the Avengers that will actually make a difference. Okay, so Hulk, Vision, Captain Marvel, Thor, Scarlet Witch, and Ant-Man, and Thor. Those are the only Avengers that will actually do anything, because the rest of them are either background characters or just playing out fodder. Okay, even Spider-Man isn't that strong. Spider-Man and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he's around the same level as Iron Man. Iron Man is not really that high up in terms of the tiers. Same thing with Black Panther. Black Panther is actually far weaker than people think. Same thing with Captain America. Most of the mid-tier Avengers would be defeated and slapped by the Akatsuki. Most of the mid-tier Avengers would be destroyed. So it's really gonna come down to the big guys. The first Avengers they'll have to fight would be Daedalus, Hidan, and we're gonna go over just the strongest ones. Okay, I think the Avengers will be able to take out Hidan. Even though he's immortal, they'll be able to find a way to take him out. They'll probably figure out really quickly. Very quickly they'll figure out that Hidan's immortal. They'll have to find a way to take him out. Daedalus is gonna be a pretty big problem because Daedalus, has the Z0, which can cause a massive, over explosion. Sasuke survived, but this is only like Captain Marvel and Thor and of course Doctor Strange, possibly Ant-Man, but he was also into the rest of the Akatsuki, here. So it was basically the events as I mentioned, Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, Thor, Captain Marvel, and Ant-Man. C0 would just obliterate the rest of the Avengers. Most of them are just fodder anyways. Vision. Vision, they'll have to just take out his stone, and Pain could probably do that easily. Or Itachi, Oh yeah, and most of the Avengers are susceptible to Itachi's Genjutsu as well. All of the Avengers are susceptible because, you know, because the power, because the reality, because they were successful to the Reality Stone, which is basically very similar to Itachi's Genjutsu. And how are they gonna be able to fight it? Okay, Four may be able to fight it. Four and Captain Marvel may survive it. Same thing with Doctor Strange because he had the Time Stone, but I don't think Scarlet Witch would be immune to it. I don't think, all the other lower level Avengers, all the weak Avengers, all the fodder Avengers. You also have Kakazu, which would be a problem because he has his three hearts. He has his three hearts because he can fight independently, which would probably just destroy all the weaker Avengers like Black Widow, Black Panther, Iron Man, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Spider-Man. Okay? And now we'll talk about Ant-Man. Ant-Man, basically from, Ant-Man is the pretty interesting one because Ant-Man contains his size. Ant-Man isn't really that strong, but he is, with his big size, he basically defeated the Leviathans really easily in Endgame. So, you might think he's not that strong, but he had that one scene where he just punched the Leviathan with like one punch in his giant mode. So, I think he'll probably survive, but he longer than most of them, but, he would probably lose to, Obito, Pain, Itachi, and Kisame, those guys are all, mountain level as well. C-Zero would probably destroy most of the weaker Avengers. We also have Hulk at the end of Endgame, which is also still around the same level. Hulk is in a but again, Hulk wouldn't be able to fight Pain, because actually this Hulk would be able, because he can control his self. But I think the Hulk at the end of Endgame is probably weaker. No, he's probably the same strength. So, here, but, Hulk would be a big problem, but Itachi would probably be easy. But they have Itachi on their side. Itachi can just put Hulk in a Genjutsu, and, of course, that would be it. It would turn back to Bruce Banner. That's how, Hulk basically combined it. But yeah, Hulk combined it, but he'll still be in Itachi's Genjutsu. He's still not immune to it. He'll probably put Itachi in a Genjutsu. Itachi will just probably put Hulk into a Genjutsu, and we have Obito pick. Even then, he wouldn't be able to beat Pain. He wouldn't be able to beat Obito. He wouldn't probably be able to beat because Hulk would fight irrationally. Hulk would try to fight Pain by trying to beat him up, but he'll just keep pushing Hulk away. 4 would be a big problem because we're talking about Stormbreaker 4. This would be the biggest problem for the Avengers. For the Akatsuki, because 4 and Captain Marvel, we could talk about 4 with Stormbreaker. Again, this is Fat 4, so Fat 4 is probably weaker, but Stormbreaker 4, he created a storm of this level that could destroy mountains before fighting Thanos, and was and then with Stormbreaker, he's island level. So basically, 4 would be the big problem here. 4 would be one of the big problems. Okay, then you have Doctor Strange of all of his hacks and Scarlet Witch of all of her magic. Scarlet Witch could have killed Thanos. I think that was a pretty big feat of herself. So he could have beaten Thanos. Okay. I think she would probably destroy Pain. The only problem would be the 2 Uchihas, Itachi and Obito. Those are the only ones. The rest of the Akatsuki, you have Kakazu and you have all the rest of them. So the 4 remaining Avengers versus the 2 Uchihas and Pain, okay, and Zetsu. But again, Zetsu doesn't really fight, that much, but Zetsu can, take over, an extremely weakened Avenger, basically. Black Zetsu can, take over, for example, Zetsu would actually be pretty useful, would be pretty good because Zetsu can just take over one of the Avengers off guard. Probably Hulk or Ant-Man or, one of the dumber Avengers, you know, and White Zetsu can also take over the one of the Avengers. That Zetsu would be a big problem because Zetsu's durability does vary essentially based off who he takes over. But Zetsu can probably take over one of the. I didn't even start talking about Zetsu, but Zetsu can take over one of the Avengers. So, for example, if let's just say Hulk, gets taken over by Black Zetsu or White Zetsu, and gets knocked out by Pain or Obito, they can use Hulk and take over Hulk, and they'll have to be fighting Zetsu Hulk, which would have all of Hulk's feats, all of Hulk's still abilities. Thor would be struggling to fight against Hulk, so just be the magic users in Captain Marvel. And yeah, the MCU Captain Marvel, they tried to make her like Superman, okay? But she was still punched away by Thanos, okay? She was still punched away by Thanos. Obito would probably... The thing is, Obito would probably have stuck, Captain Marvel into the continuity dimension. So it'll just be Obito versus the two magic users. The Uchihas versus the magic users. And, Zetsu, as well. Because Captain Marvel would not know how to escape the continuity dimension. And Obito was able to overpower Cubito mode Sakura, Naruto. In the anime. So they'll be fighting, yeah, and then we have Doctor Strange of all of his hexes. But even with Doctor Strange had the time stone, he still got the story. He still lost to Thanos. He still did not win against Thanos. With all of his illusions. But the thing is, with Doctor Strange, Itachi and Obito can do the same thing. Okay? Obito and Itachi can do the same thing. You make clones, which Doctor Strange did it against Thanos. Using magic, he can, fly with the Cloak of Levitation. He can create his own portals. But, Doctor Strange would be Doctor Strange can use the portal to get Captain Marvel out of the continuity dimension. So, Obito and Itachi would be screwed. And Pain. Pain would probably be beaten. I think Pain wouldn't really survive. Itachi would probably lose because Doctor Strange can use his magic to, But, but the thing is the Uchihas would probably break out the Mirror Dimension pretty easily. Especially, Obito. He can just calm himself outside of the Mirror Dimension. But Doctor Strange's magic does ignore durability in some ways. We don't know Doctor Strange's true power. And that's like the big problem. Same thing with Scarlet Witch. She would probably lose. I wouldn't be surprised because Obito can just use his, hacks. So it was really down to dust. And we haven't even talked about Captain Marvel yet, which is the Marvel Cinematic Universe version, not the comic book version. Because we're talking about comic book 4. Comic book 4 would be like, comic book 4 with his, multiversal feats. But, the problem with Captain Marvel is she isn't as strong as they make her out to be. She briefly overwhelmed Thanos, forcing Thanos to use a Power Stone, but Obito has mountain level feats. See, Captain Marvel is she is on the level of the Akatsuki, of many of the Akatsuki members actually, but she will probably still lose, to the Akatsuki. So it's just really Doctor Strange versus the Uchihas and Scarlet Witch, the magic users. Which Doctor Strange can probably negate Itachi's Genjutsu attacks, because we are talking about Doctor Strange here, okay? He is a user of the Time Stone, but, he doesn't have the Reality Stone. I think the Reality Stone would probably be able to beat Doctor Strange's, Itachi's Genjutsu because Doctor Strange, but he still has the Time Stone, which is still pretty powerful. Here. And even versus Battle Weekly themselves, Ford and Scarlet Witch will still beat Captain Marvel. I don't say they didn't get Ford would still be alive. I think the Akatsuki would still lose at the end of the day because of Doctor Strange's hacks. We don't know how strong Doctor Strange truly is. Ford still had Stormbreaker, which was able to injure Thanos, which was a feat in itself, as well. And Scarlet Witch, was that one scene where he was about to kill Thanos. You really think, okay. We really think that Obito's gonna be, or it's gonna be Obito versus two users that are incredibly good at hacks and ignoring their ability, that are incredibly good at magic, and one guy who basically could have killed Thanos, which has been stated to be planet level. Two users that could have been defeated, Thanos. And now let's go to, Jubito versus the Avengers. Okay? Jubito versus the Avengers. Okay? What Jubito win? Obito when he has the Jubi absorbed. And this is just Jubito versus just Doctor Strange. Thanos. No, not Thanos. Thor and, Scarlet Witch. So, Obito was stated to have a power level that rivals Hagiburobo's power, higher with the sword no Boku, with his far stronger than his regular attacks. So, Biju mode, would probably win against Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch, because this is just, this is him with the Jubi, okay? But the problem is he doesn't really have control, so Thor can, probably, Doctor Strange would probably outlast him being in the Jubi form. Doctor Strange, he would probably put him under tricks to see if think he's winning. But without the Jubi, which is what's going to happen, the Avengers would probably win at the end. Captain Marvel would probably be the last Avenger to be defeated. Okay? But, it's really going to be Obito and Zetsu, which Black Zetsu and White Zetsu can take over bodies and enhance their durability, enhance them a lot. But if Black Zetsu takes control of Doctor Strange, the Avengers the Akatsuki are gonna win. Okay, Black Zetsu, and White Zetsu, if they take over, for example, Thor, with the Stormbreaker and Bunio, because Thor would still be worried, because even though he's still getting controlled by someone else, he'll still be able to have the hammer because he's still Thor. Or they'll just take over Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange of all of his hacks, because Zetsu can just take over Doctor Strange while he's just sitting down. Okay. And White Zetsu can probably take over, a lot of the weaker Avengers and enhance their durability. To be around, to be around the level. There. Even if Urutamaru was in, I don't think really the outcome will change. Because Urutamaru would probably lose, there. And all the rest of the Avengers were, there. So the Akatsuki, would they win? I'm going to give them a 50-50 chance if because Zetsu could take over two of the events, Black Zetsu could take over one of the Avengers' bodies and turn them against them. And, Pain would survive along them, Kasami, Kakazu. But the problem is a lot of the Akatsuki are around the same level. But most of the Avengers are just fodder, basically. But you have four of the Avengers that are at least mountain level. Okay. In terms of strength, which would change the battle greatly. and there's only like 2 Naruto characters. And even if Data uses C0, 4 would still be able to escape. 4 and Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch would still be able to escape. Captain Marvel would be able to escape C0. Okay, so they would, and, you know, if we include Vision would escape too. You know, but Vision, they would be able to beat Vision easily. Pain will just use, you know, Universal Pull, you know, and just take the stone out of his hat and have like Obito, or, and if they have, you know, for example, that would be a problem if Vision is on their side. You know, if they have Vision still. If we include Vision, Pain will just use Universal Pull and one of the other, and Obito would probably take the Power Stone and use it. But again, the stones. If but if the Infinity Stones don't work outside the Marvel verse, the Avengers would lose basically, because Doctor Strange's Time Stone wouldn't work, and the Power Stone and Vision would basically be just fodder. You know, he would probably be the weakest hero out of them all, because Vision is powered by the Power Stone, and Doctor Strange, most of Doctor Strange's magic is and durability is enhanced with the Time Stone. So, you know, so if we're using the same rules as the Marvel comics, that, you know, of course, that the Infinity Stones don't work outside the Marvel Universe, the Avengers are toast. Because Obito would use Kamui. He would probably suck, you know, some of the Avengers into the Kamui dimension. But Doctor Strange is still able to use most of his magic without his Time Stone. But Kamui dimension will be useless because Doctor Strange can use the portals to get him out. You know, there. So they would have to beat Doctor Strange first, and then of course Obito can just suck the remaining Avengers into Kamui dimension, and that's how they could win. But they'll have to find a way to touch Doctor Strange without doing it. And I think, you know, Itachi could probably do that, or Pain, you know, there. So, who do you think would win? The Avengers or the Akatsuki? And that's basically it. Goodbye.